Hey, good morning, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I just want to say that I just finished the book, The Culture Code. This book is probably one of the most impactful reads that I've had in a really long time. It goes through a lot of interesting processes and stories about building culture with inside businesses. I think why this was so impactful for me right now is it's hard to understand and develop culture in a company during a pandemic, during a political craziness that's happening. But I think that it brought out some really good ideas and suggestions that made a lot of sense. I think when we start businesses, whether it be in spirits or whether it be in real estate, I think sometimes we forget that the most important part is the culture of the said business. And what really matters is developing a family vibe at that said company. I think it really comes down to the practice of caring about the people that you work for, making sure that you're building a system within they can connect with each other, but also have purpose. What is the main goal of what they're doing at your company? In regards to Misguided Spirits, we're selling alcohol, but there has to be something more than just that because anyone can have or create an alcohol brand, but how do you put energy behind it with purpose? I think it's finding the right people and also making them feel connected to the cause. And although it sounds simple, of sell said vodka to said store and they sell it, it's putting energy behind the sale that really impacts the person and the business. Some takeaways that I really loved were defining your priorities. If you don't define your priorities, then it's hard to understand where you're going and what you need to achieve. And also measuring those priorities and measuring what really matters is really important in the sense of maybe it's not about how much money you do in sales or where you're achieving, your growth through how much volume you're going to do. Maybe it's you should measure your success in business by how happy the people are around you and trying to change certain things faster or sooner than later so you can develop a good process to keep these people and keep them in the fold because ultimately they're going to be hiring people themselves and developing their own teams. So you need to start building the culture from the beginning to make sure that you're not going to put yourself in a worse situation down the line. Another key takeaway that I saw, and I want to shout out the Cleveland Browns, is Coach Stefanski. Their turnaround this year is really in part to a coach coming into that team and talking about some key things that he did in the beginning of the season, which they talked about during the postseason game that just passed. He wanted to know each player's history. Why it's important to know each player's history is it lets them know that you care about where they came from, who they are, and what they are. Um, I think people need to understand that when you bring people into any kind of business, learning about where they come from and who they are is very important to understanding what they will do and how they'll work with you. I think what really impacts a person too is the heartache that they've had, and that was another thing that the coach reached out to the players about in ownership and himself. He wanted to be honest and vulnerable to his players and talk about the heartaches that they've had within the organization, but on a personal level as well. So you got to understand where they've come and what struggles they've had. Also, who are your heroes is a big one that, who do you look up to and who inspires you is also really key to understanding the people that you're going to be surrounded by in that team in your hopes. I think this is really important to figuring out kind of what drives certain people, but also what gives them inspiration to become better. Anyways, this book was great. It's a little bit longer on the video than I like to do. The next book next week is The Seven Choices. It's called On Fire. There's 7 choices to ignite a radically inspired life. I think this is going to be a good read. I've read some other stuff by John O'Leary. I think I'm going to, I really want to get going on this one because I think there are certain things that we learned in the Habits book. Some of their studyings that I want to take in and kind of see if I can do a little deeper changing of habits and use this book to kind of ignite what I'm doing already. Thank you guys for taking the time. Give @Drink Misguided a follow. And thanks for tuning in. All right, bye.